I was surprised that they visited the airspace that close to Alaska. And I guess they were surprised that the plane that shot down, I was talking about flying 50 to 100 feet. One time we went down to 27 feet. I could not go. The guy that got shot down, he pulled up to almost 8,000 feet. The Russian radar picks him up, scrambles those two MiGs, and that's what got him. But I would if there had been an inquiry, I would have been inclined to have court-martialed, or at least a captain's mast or something, that pilot for doing that, because you just don't do that.
Endangering.
Yeah. And he's probably flying along the date line between the Little Diomede and Big Diomede. They're 20 miles apart. One's Russians, one's U.S. And on a clear day, they say with spyglasses, you can look over and see the Russian island. And we would normally fly down between them. Providenia is the interceptor base. We kind of knew about it. So you don't let them know that you're in the area, and don't expose yourself to their radar. The other place was the Komodorsky Islands. They're on down, like the Aleutian chain stops at Attu, and then you go a few more 100 miles, and then the Komodorsky Islands start, and it's Russian. You go a little bit further, the Sakhalin Peninsula, and we used to kind of patrol down in this area. The Japanese airline JAL 007 commercial airliner leaves Anchorage, I believe, Seattle to Anchorage to Tokyo, and just off of the Sakhalin Peninsula, the MiG-15 came out. I think it was a single MiG came out and shot it down. There was 128 passengers on board, and they were all killed. So you didn't know, you never knew, are they going to shoot at us? They're not going to, they're just going to look at us. It's better to shoot first and ask questions later. That was my idea. I'm not going to let that guy get lined up on me. I've got two cannons here. And nose and tail had 1,000 rounds, and top turret had 1,500 rounds of 50 caliber. And you can do some serious damage with 20 caliber. The MiGs, the early models, were outfit with a single cannon, which was like 37 millimeter fired from the nose. And then later they put in, I think, as many as 4 23 millimeter cannons in the wings, and boy, that'd do some serious damage. Never wanted to meet up with one of those guys. Spent a lot of time in the airplane. Fly about every other day or so. If I wasn't flying with my own crew, I'm flying with another crew in a training capacity. And I did this for nearly 2.5 years. I was the assistant officer of the day, the assistant OD on a couple of occasions that were interesting. 2 MiG-15s had jumped on the exec officer just south of Nome, Alaska, and his escape was to fly. There's an island called King Island. Has a high mountain on it. His escape was to fly real tight circles around King Island, and the jets can't make a firing run on him. Well, I was the OD back at Kodiak, and the teletype wakes up, and there's a Z preamble. Z preamble means war is imminent. And I thought, oh God, this is going to be the start of World War III. They had just shot down my airplane, another crew flying it. They had just shot down my airplane a week or so before, and then they jumped the exec officer, and the Air Force was alerted. They sent out a flight of F-86 Sabre jets to help the exec get home. Well, he eventually makes it. And to this day, I don't know what I did with that message. I had to distribute a Z preamble message, but to this day, I don't know where I sent it or to whom I sent it. Another case was it was in the middle of the night, and this was at Alameda, and I'm the assistant officer of the day. The OD has already gone back to BOQ and to sleep. The teletype wakes up, and it's like an F1 or F2 hurricane. I don't know what they call it. Anyway, the hurricane coming in off the coast with winds up to 70 miles an hour. I've got 10 airplanes sitting on the ramp facing the wrong direction, and the thing is going to make landfall in a few hours. So I wake up the tractor crew, some more guys, and we went out, and we start turning the airplanes around and buttoning them down, tying them down. There's maybe an 8-foot seawall, and the waves started coming up and over the seawall. Before we finished, we were in water when a wave hit about knee deep. I had the pickup turn so we could see what we were doing, and one of the guys looks around and says, "It's blowing the pickup away." Oh my gosh. So I go running as fast as I can and all this water, and jumped in and got it stopped. But I'm thinking the headlines: pickup slams into O&R hangar, big fire, Ralph Walkingstick is being held responsible and will be court-martialed. An election of duty. No, I covered that old boy's tail, the OD, because he's back at BOQ, and he should have been on top of this. Well, he wasn't, I was, and had some experiences like that. And you don't even get a T-shirt. You save 10 airplanes, you don't even get a pat on the back or a T-shirt. That was, I guess, what always bothered me. I did a number of things, and you never get any recognition. There were no medals. The guys that got shot down in CB3, they didn't get a Purple Heart. The pilot flew the plane on one engine and bellied it in on St. Lawrence Island. It immediately blew up, burned the heck out of a number of the crewmen, and they all got out. There was no fatalities. One guy broke his leg when he jumped out, hit in the tundra. But there was one beach that you could possibly belly an aircraft in, and this guy found it. I don't think he had previous knowledge. I think he flew the airplane as far as it was going to fly, and the skid marks start. We went by there. The skid marks start where the water stops and the land begins, and that's where he put it down. No flying medal, no kind of recognition for no unit citation or anything like that. We got nothing because we weren't supposed to be doing anything like that. I read one report that said in the years between like 1950 and 1959 or somewhere about a 10-year period, the combined Navy and Air Force losses were, one report says 45 airplanes and air crew, and the other report says 35. None of the crewmen were recovered. None of the aircraft were recovered. VP-6 lost an airplane, and there was, I guess, lost all the men. And we figured the sharks got them. So it's down there. You can't let it worry you too much. You just keep on doing your job. And some of the relatives, guys' wives, have gone to, I don't know what department it is in Washington. After the Cold War, they communicated with the Russians, and some of the reports there, and they said, well, yes, we think there was 2 Americans in Gulag number so-and-so that were captives, but they couldn't trace them, couldn't find them. There was a PB-4Y2 that took off from Ankara, Turkey, and going to someplace in Sweden. He's supposed to land, and just gone. But 35 or 40 aircraft is a lot, and there's, typically 7 to 10 men in each airplane, and the Russians are not going to admit it. We are not going to admit it that we were overflying and penetrating their territory, and so if you do get caught, it's weather, and we got off course. That was Eisenhower's. Later, they started flying the U-2 spy plane, and that's when Gary Powers was shot down, 62, 63, somewhere in there. One was shot down over China. One was shot down over Cuba during the missile crisis. You never forget. And I've kept in touch with some of the guys from VP9. We had our 50th year reunion in St. Louis in, was it 2002? 2000. Yes. Yeah, VP9 was commissioned in 1950. And previously they had lost, they just went missing. I mean, this is how it's reported. They've just gone missing. Not necessarily MIAs, but they were shot down. You never hear too much about it, and when I came home, of course everybody else, they're going about their own civilian business, and they don't know anything, or possibly don't even care or keep up with things like that. And I guess that's what got me. I spent a lot of time and didn't even get a ball cap. And I had a fear. I don't ever want to be captured by the Russians the whole time. And flying out of Barbers Point, I don't ever want to have to ditch because there's sharks down here. But when I got home, everybody's married. Everybody's graduated from college. They've moved away. And like they say, you can never come back home. Home's changed. There's nobody there. And that was a little difficult to settle down. And but I had this dream that really got to me. Was I was at my grandfather's, and I was just sleeping on the couch, and I envisioned that it was like a fire break between two big trees, between rows of trees, and we were bellying in up, going uphill against the trees. Well, I mean the mountain. And obviously we didn't make it because I'm in a little bitty room about like this, and the guys are sitting around on chairs, and there was a big black curtain all around, and every so often this thing would come through the curtain, and you couldn't see his face. He had a thing over his head, booger man, and he would grab one of the guys by the hand, and they'd go back behind the curtain. He never came back. Pretty soon the black thing would come back and get another one. Go behind the curtain, and they never come back. And next thing I know, it was like someone grabs you, but there was nothing there. It was just a force or something got me by the arm. And I said, I'm not going to that curtain because you don't come back. So I had my pistol, my automatic, and bam, 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 bam. I emptied the whole magazine into that thing, and it just wouldn't let go. I woke up and my heart was just going wham, ka wham, ka wham, ka wham. I'm sweating all over. It was truly a scary experience. And this may have been the time that I have atrial fibrillation, and this may have been something that contributed to that. But that scared me more than anything. Because I knew if you went behind the curtain, you don't come back. And there wasn't much you could do about it. I woke up and got out of it, but I guess I could have died from a heart attack. Yeah, it was difficult to start college. What I wanted to do, my dream was to go to a small college back east with ivy-covered walls, and I was going to play football and live in a fraternity house and have all kind of young women to date. That was my dream. It never happened. I walked on at Arkansas, and I have a broken ankle, and at one time a dislocated knee. And after about 2 weeks, and we were doing 60-yard wind sprints after practice, and my ankle started hurting so bad I couldn't make it. So I turned in my equipment, and but Bobby Proctor was freshman coach, and he would send me over to the varsity field, and I'm playing defensive back over there for the evening, and then they would send me back after practice. They'd send me back over to the freshman field, and I get there just in time for the wind sprints and stuff, But I thought I could make it as a punter, and I never got an opportunity. And I saw I was going to be able to do that and study engineering. I thought the best, and I wasn't really ready for school. mentally. I just was not ready to settle down into, I guess, some kind of civilian life. So I checked in my equipment, checked out of school, and I guess spent the rest of the summer chasing after my wife. I don't remember.